the feedback that I get from most new consultants is that they have trouble understanding the difference between the inventory management and the warehouse management, and how those two interact between each other, why you must do the picking in one and then you have to do the picking in another, and so forth. So this video is all about the interaction between IM and WM and how the picking goes through each module. So the inventory management is usually coupled with the material management module and is managed by the MM consultant. The warehouse management, or WM, is managed by a WM consultant. So actually two different people. On the inventory management level, we have the stock on plant and storage location level. So we track it on the plant and storage location. If we do a change in the material, we have account postings, or what we could say is there are general ledger implications to what we do. So if we could, for example, reduce the stock, which means that the general ledger has been posted to. We have different stock levels, i.e. we can physically or in the system increase or decrease the level of stock. In the warehouse, in the WM, we have the stock on the bin level. And whatever we do in WM, there's actually no account postings or no account implications of what we do. We're just moving stock around and around. Now imagine, for example, the IM and WM are actually two sides of the same coin. They're two different modules, but they have an interface which interacts between each other. And the core concept that you have to understand is the stock level in inventory management must always equal to the total stock level in the bin. So IM and WM must always be the same. Yeah. In inventory management, we have the stock. We store it on plant and storage location level. So we have one material maybe in a bin, in a stock location and bin level. And this is slightly different on the warehouse management. In the warehouse, we can have multiple bins for one material, and that is a big driver where you want warehouse management. And you can also transfer the material from bin to bin using a transfer order. Yeah. So the biggest driver for people when they want to decide whether they want to use inventory management or warehouse management, one of the biggest drivers is whether or not they want to have one material in more than one bin. Because of the way the master data is set up, one storage location on the material master view, on a plant and storage location view, you can only have one bin. So one material can only be assigned one bin in inventory management, and the bin is actually just a text field. In the warehouse management view, a bin is like a physical location, and you can have multiple materials in one bin, and you can have one material in different bins. Yeah, so that is the main driver. So the important thing to remember is inventory management. We can actually make material movements. So we can change the status, we can change the quantities, and we do this by a material movement. In WM, we can only move the material using a transfer order. And the only thing we can actually do is move a material from one bin to another. We cannot actually increase the stock or reduce the stock. So if we were to just change the status, what we would do is create a transfer order that will just change the status of a material. That's how we do it. So how does this all work? So let's say, for example, in IM, you've created some material, so you've increased your stock. You've done a 101 movement. The system, via the interface, will also magically increase in a very special bin, in bin 101, the same quantity. And what we have to do is via transfer order move that material to the correct bin in which we want to store it. Yeah. So now let's say we have a delivery, and in that delivery we want to do our picking, which actually means go to that bin. So we want to do our picking, which actually means go to that bin, take it and put it to the staging area just before it needs to be shipped. The staging area is actually also a special bin in WM, yeah, and it's I think 961, and it's a staging area bin. When you do the PGI, the system will then reduce the stock from that staging area and make it 0. It actually creates a special bin for the negative quantity and you move it across. So you're reducing the stock in IM and you move the quantity from that bin to a special, what we call a negative bin, that will also reduce the stock. And this means that the total quantity both in IM and WM are balanced. It's great that I've told you all the theory. Now let's look at how it's done in SAP. So first off, let's have a look at a particular material. And I'm going to increase the material via MB1C. So before I start, let's have a look at the overall stock value. So I'm going to open a new transaction. So I'm going to use MMBE. So /NMMBE, and for this material 2882, for this plant 1000, storage location 0100. You can see here quantity of 0. I have no stock at all in the warehouse or in the factory. So I've now increased. I put a quantity of 100. Oops, let's go back. Let's have a look again. Yeah, and let's have a look in logistics execution, internal warehouse processing, bins and stock, display, and let's have a look at display here, and let's have a look at the bin stock. So for this warehouse 2882, again in WM view we also have a quantity of 0, so there's no stock there in both IM and WM. So I'm now going to make this posting here. Okay, immediately you can see the material document has been created. Now I'm going to refresh, and you can see here I have unrestricted quantity of 100. And logic says, that in WM must also have a quantity of 100 because they must balance. So let's look in WM. So if I were to go back, put back the material in here. Let's put the material in here, and you can see here I have type 902, so it's a very specific bin, right, and a very intermediate storage bin, WE, which is the warehouse view. You can see here I have 100, and let's be clear here what this means. This means that SAP has placed 100 in a temporary storage location 902 in a temporary bin, a quantity of 100, and it's up to us now to move it to a particular storage location. So I'm creating a transfer order for this. Let's see if I can save it. It's looking for a storage unit type, so I put 1 in, search for it again, and as you can see the transfer order has been created. Don't worry so much about how it creates a transfer order, just understand that a transfer order has been created, and what we are saying is that we are going to move the stock from that current bin, the temporary 902 bin, into the proper bin in SAP. So now let's go and confirm the transfer order. So let's go back into the main SAP menu, and if I go to logistics execution, internal warehouse processing, bins and stock, stock transfer, there should be a confirmed transfer order, single document, one step, so LT12 is a transaction. and transfer order number 3, and as you can see here, I'm moving the stock from 902 into our destination bin so WE zone here into the proper bin. So I'm moving 100, so the quantity hasn't increased, and all I'm doing is I'm moving it from one bin to another. So understand that concept again. Maybe I'm repeating again, but this is quite an important concept. In IM, the stock hasn't increased, and actually in WM, the stock hasn't increased. All we're doing is moving it from the temporary zone into the proper zone, into the proper bin where the material should exist. So now let's confirm this transfer order. I've saved it, and now if we look at the bin, if we go back, run the transaction again, and now you can see the 100 has been correctly moved into the proper bin. And if I refresh IM, you can see on the IM level nothing has changed, still 100 of the material. So now let's have a look what happens if I decrease the stock. So let's go back. I am going to now do a material movement MB1A, and I'm going to do a decrease of 50. So material movement 201. Let me press enter here. I'm just going to put the cost center, the material, and as we said before, quantity of 50. So let me save that, and the document has been posted. That means on inventory management level, if I refresh, we only see 50. But as we said before, right, now let's go to the WM view. Let me put the material in again. We should also see 50, because what we said is IM and WM has always balanced, so there must be 50. And as you can see here again, there's a special type 911 here, special storage bin, and now it's negative 50. So the total of 100 plus minus 50 equals 50. So the total in WM is 50, but the system has told you that the minus 50 is in this special bin. And what we have to do is move from 150 into this minus 50 bin. So it may sound confusing, but let's create a transfer order for this. You can see I'm asking the system to find. So it says I found 50 in this bin. Okay, create a transfer order for it, and let's confirm it. So very quickly, let's confirm the transfer order. So moving from this bin into our negative bin here, 150. If I go and save it, now let's go back again into the IM view. You can still see it's 50. But if I now execute this, you can see I've moved 50 from the bin into the negative bin, so they cancel out and it vanishes from our report, and we can see the balance of 50 in the proper bin here. So that's how the system keeps the two IM and WM balance. If you ever create something in IM, it immediately increases the stock in WM, and if you ever reduce the stock in IM, it then in a very special bin creates a quantity of negative, and we move some material from the normal bin into this negative bin, and that's how we get this overall balancing effect. Now, as a supply chain logistics consultant, you don't need to know how all of this works in detail. As long as you understand the concepts, then you can work with the WM consultants usually, who will manage the warehouse, but you actually know how it works. So you know how the picking works, and you know what the process is. While you're not an expert at it, right, you still have some degree of knowledge and information.